Alright fellas, well that basically just went as expected. We just saw Mike Tyson return to the ring against Jake Paul in their highly anticipated bout. In my last video I talked about how we all needed to come back down to reality a bit, and I think that's exactly what we saw here. A reality check. In what was a perfect case study in effective marketing, we saw a bloke who, although I would give him his flowers for getting in there, shouldn't have been in the ring at all. It was a disgrace that this fight was actually sanctioned by a professional body. So I want to talk about the fight week, the fight itself, and really where do we go from here? What an event like this means for boxing. And just before we get into that, if you love everything boxing, you've found yourself in the right place. I'm Cloister and I make boxing videos to help keep you in the loop, so make sure to subscribe to always stay informed. The fight between Jake and Tyson I don't think will be remembered for the fight, more so as a masterclass in marketing. Everyone, including myself, was excited to see Tyson get back in the ring, yet the concept of reality and time seemed to evade quite a few. In the lead up for the fight we all saw the clips of Tyson. It was the smart thing to do, record and cut up 15-second clips of pad work and sparring to make him look like the Mike of old. It brings a lot of eyes and it brings hope. And I think going into fight week it was clear that the narrative that we were being fed might not be so true. When uploading my last video, I had the upload screen on one page and the public workouts on the other. In watching the public workouts, I think that was when what a lot of us feared really rung home. After a minute of pad work, Tyson looked tired and out of breath. No amount of gasping from his coach could convince us otherwise. It was clear the footage we were seeing didn't match up with reality. At the next press conference, Tyson looked out of it and not interested. Which fair enough, the bloke's been doing media for the last couple months, I think most of us would be too. The weigh-ins showed both of them in good enough shape and of course brought that iconic slap, which was nice to see but didn't really mean nothing except producing probably the best photo from the whole event. And then that brought us to fight night. I won't talk too much about the undercard and let me know if you want to see any in-depth videos about any of the other fights. Yet my highlights of the whole event were the two fights before the main event. Ramos put up a great performance against Barrios, pushing the fight to a draw. A great fight for the fans, which I hope will see a rematch. While also the co-main, which truly should have been the main event, Taylor vs Serrano 2 brought all the action. In what was the best fight that you could make currently in women's boxing? I would say close result yes, robbery no. Personally, I would have had Serrano up by a round, but you look at some of the fan scoring on BoxRec, even they have it as a draw. Yet the commentators were simply horrendous, making it seem like Katie lost every single round in the way they called it a robbery. They simply undermined her victory. You can't expect much more, they're MVP commentators and Serrano is MVP's pride and joy. MVP, of course, being the promotional company putting on the show. But no matter how you have it, it was simply a win for women's boxing and boxing as a whole, unlike the main event. In my last video, I talked about how I'd be looking at Tyson's balance from the get-go, and I think that told the whole story. Jake in the first couple rounds was incredibly cautious because obviously he didn't know what sort of Tyson was going to come out. It was clear though when Jake hit him with a couple punches, he almost stumbled. His legs simply weren't there anymore. The Paul camp really from this point played politics. They probably had a few different game plans going in. If Tyson was going to come out and actually fight, they would have put it on him. Yet if he came out looking not so great, they had a plan for that also. Although it was Jake's mission to become the most hated man in the sport again, knocking out this Mike Tyson would have been more of a PR disaster than it was worth. Not all attention is good attention at that level. Tyson's movement was gone. He didn't have the ability to angle or close the distance. He stayed stationary and threw a couple shots whenever Jake got close. A lot of people were questioning also why he was biting his gloves. It was simply instinct as he used to do it. It was a bit more normal though when he followed up with a few punches. Not as normal when he's just standing there eating his gloves. It's a credit to Tyson for him getting back in the ring, although the questions and fingers have to be pointed to everyone which allowed this to happen. You have to give Jake Paul some props for not being stupid enough to knock him out, but surely everyone who said that this Tyson looked amazing in sparring was lying through their teeth. Like to much of Tyson's career, were the people who were enabling this just there to get their payday? I'll let you decide. Where do we go now though? Let's first talk Tyson. Simply, I don't want to see him back in the ring ever again. He said he feels like he's got more in the tank after the fight, and to be honest, anyone would feel that after the check he just got. Although nobody wants to see him in there with someone like Logan Paul. Also, in the post-fight interview, Logan could have been just a bit humble when Mike said he's next. Yet in classic Logan fashion, he just can't resist being a bit of a prick. If Tyson wants to fight again, it has to be something closer to the Roy Jones exhibition, where it's him versus someone similar in age and it's just a bit of fun. Nothing with true serious potential consequences. but preferably I just want to see him healthy, not in the ring and enjoying his life with his family. For Jake though, it's a bit more interesting. Although this was a huge event, I don't think this raises his stock at all. Where he turns next will certainly be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if he enters the PFL and has an MMA fight. Probably the biggest check he could get, and it would give some time for people to forget about this fight. In terms of other boxing opponents, there's not too many out there. There's not really any MMA fighters left, no one wants to see him against a journeyman, and I don't think anyone would want to see him in the ring against another retired fighter again. There are only a few possibilities that immediately come to mind. Of course you have KSI and Tommy Fury, although rumour on the street is that they're going to rematch soon, and if that happens both parties are off the table, while additionally those fights have been historically almost borderline impossible to make anyway. You have MVP stableman Niraj Goyat who is on the undercard, yet Niraj is fighting at 164 pounds, and after his performance, no one wants to see that. MVP should be smart enough to look at that performance and go, nah, that's not it. What I think there's some potential in is a matchup against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Jake will drop down to cruiserweight or bridgerweight. Chavez is technically active although washed up, and it would be framed as Paul is finally versing a real boxer. And in this world of boxing, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow it's for a bridgerweight world title. The belt organisations love their sanctioning fees, and that would make them a lot of money in a division which is bringing none. But to end this off though, this was far from a glamorous performance at the end of the day. Reality struck, and although it didn't end as badly as many of us were bracing for, I think it needs to be questioned, how did this fight pass so many checks to actually happen? Obviously people knew that Tyson wasn't truly fit to fight a professional fight, and why did they allow this to happen? I hope there isn't going to be too much of a revisionist history take on the fight, yet I know many who were peddling a false narrative which they knew deep down wasn't right and were misleading their audience probably will. Yet, I guess that's what you gotta kinda expect. Anyways, I want to now hear what you think about this fight as a whole. I want to hear it all your anger, your relief, or maybe your joy as a Jake Paul fan, I don't know. Let me know everything down below. Yet thanks for watching fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.